The ninth plague that was brought upon Egypt was the plague of darkness. The Torah says, "Vayet Moshe es yadoi al hashamayim, vayhi choshech afela b'chol eretz Mitzrayim shloishes yamim." It says that Moses stretched forth his hand towards the heavens, and there was a thick darkness throughout the land of Egypt for 3 days. No man could see his brother, nor could anyone rise from his place for a 3-day period. But for all the children of Israel, there was light in their dwellings. Many fascinating concepts here. Many details, many insights, and many lessons. Number one, Rashi tells us there were 2 sets of darkness. The first 3 days and the second 3 days. The first 3 days, leira'u, they didn't see one the other. The second 3 days, leikamu, they could not get up. The second 3 days, the darkness intensified, it became very thick. They could not move. The Egyptians could not move for 3 days. But all these days, the Jewish people had light. The Bnei Yisrael, there was light in their dwellings. There was light in their houses. Now, what is the reason? What is the reason for the fact that there was this darkness? Says Rashi, the first 3 days of darkness was for the fact that there were many Jews who did not believe in the Geula, did not believe in the redemption. And the Jews who did not believe in the redemption died those first 3 days. As we find in next week's parsha, V'chalmushim olu bnei Yisrael, only 1/5 came out of Egypt. 4/5 died in this plague of darkness. So that the Egyptians should not see the Jews dying, says Rashi, there was a plague of darkness, and in the meantime the Jews buried their dead. That is the first 3 days of darkness. The second 3 days of darkness, leikamu, they could not move. What happened then? The Jewish people entered into the houses of the Egyptians. And they took a list and they wrote down all the beautiful jewelry, all the beautiful silver, gold, diamond vessels and clothing. And they made for themselves a list of all of these items. And during those days, the Egyptians could not move. And therefore, it was safe for the Jews to enter into their houses. It was not dangerous because the Egyptians had no power over their movement. What happened then? They were able to take down stock of all the jewelry, all the items. So when they left Mitzrayim, when they left Egypt, they said to their neighbors, "I'd like to borrow all of these items." And they said, "Well, we don't have them. We would love to give it to you. If only we had them." "Really? In your second drawer in your bedroom, I saw this. In your third drawer in your bedroom, I saw that. In your kitchen drawer next to the refrigerator, I saw the other item." "Oh, you're right. I do have these things. Go ahead. Take them. It's for you." Now, as the Gemara says, what was the reason for this? Because God told Abraham, "Your children will go down into a land they do not know. They will be slaves. However, after that, they will go out, b'rechush gadol. They will go out with a tremendous wealth." God said to Moses, "I don't want Abraham to complain to me and say, look, the first part of my promise was fulfilled. The Jewish people labored and slaved in Egypt. But the second part, that they left with a tremendous wealth, was not fulfilled. Therefore, please make sure the Jews go and they ask their neighbors for these items." Now, there's a machloikis here, an argument between Rashi and the Midrash. What exactly was this miracle and this plague of darkness? According to Rashi, there was one miracle, and that was the miracle of darkness. The miracle of darkness was that the Egyptians were plagued with darkness. However, it did not affect the Jewish people, and therefore they were able to walk in during broad daylight. For them it was light, a natural daylight, and for the Egyptians it was dark, and they were able to take stock of all the items. According to the Midrash, there were 2 miracles. There was the miracle of darkness, a thick darkness, that did not allow the Egyptians to move, and the miracle of light. The Jewish people were blessed with X-ray vision. They were able to walk into a house and scan all the closets and see where everything was. They didn't even have to walk in to the closet. If something was hidden under the bed, under the ground, in the earth, they were able to see it with their eyes. There was a miracle of X-ray vision. This was the second miracle of the Midrash. Rashi, however, does not say this. He simply says they had to go in and they had to search for these items. And then they wrote them down. And therefore, says Rashi, this was the reason for the plague of darkness. The reason was so that the Jewish people should be able to go in and mark down all these items and search for them, itemize them, and be able to borrow them on the way out. The Midrash makes no such reference. The Midrash does not say that they went there in order to itemize the items. In other words, according to the Midrash, he does not say that the reason why the plague of darkness came upon the Egyptians was in order for the Jews to go and itemize all of these items. Because according to the Midrash, they were able to do it standing outside. They had X-ray vision. They didn't have to go into the house and to mark them down. So let us understand what is the difference between the approach of Rashi and the approach of the Midrash, and how this applies to our daily life of how we serve Almighty God. First and foremost, why is it that Rashi takes the simple approach? That there was no miracle of vision. There was no X-ray vision. It was natural. They walked in and they saw and they found. Why can't Rashi follow the approach of the Midrash? If Rashi agrees that there was a miracle of darkness, there could have been also a miracle of light, of X-ray vision. Yet Rashi learns that the fact that it was light for the Jewish people was not an additional miracle. It was simply that there was one miracle was that the plague of darkness affected the Egyptians. And automatically it did not affect the Jewish people. Two separate concepts. Rashi feels when it comes to do a mitzvah needs to be done within the realm of nature. A Jewish person needs to do a mitzvah within the realm of nature. And therefore, there was a mitzvah, and that was to go and empty out Egypt. Take all the jewelry, all the valuables out of Egypt. That was a mitzvah that God commanded the Jewish people to go and do. And because this was a mitzvah needs to be done within the realm of nature. There's a famous story, we've said this here at this class numerous times, and that was the Alter Rebbe, the Rav Shnei Zalman of the Yadi, the first Chabad Rebbe, when he was interrogated in St. Petersburg. He was taken from the prison cell to the town hall, and he went over a small river, and he was in a boat or a ferry, and it was time to sanctify the new moon. Kiddush Levana. We do this once a month. And he looked up and he saw it was time to sanctify the moon, and the boat was moving. And he told the captain of the boat, please stop the boat. The captain says, you're a prisoner. I'm the guard. Prisoners don't tell guards what to do. All of a sudden, boom, the boat stops, does not move. Now he approaches the captain and says, can you stop it now? He says, yeah, sure, now I'll do it. Now I'll stop the boat for you. And the question comes to mind, if the Alter Rebbe was able to stop the boat on his own, why did he approach the captain and ask him, number one, to stop it? And number two, after already he stopped it, and he let it go again, now he requested that the captain should stop it. And the answer is, the Alter Rebbe was performing a mitzvah to recite the blessing for the new moon. If that is the case, it has to be done within the realm of nature. You have to stand in one place. You can't move. And the boat was moving. It has to stop according to nature. The fact that Alter Rebbe could stop it on his own, that's a miracle. The objective of a mitzvah is to bring God, that is infinite, into the finite world. And that's why mitzvahs need to be done within teva, within nature. Based on this, Rashi says that there was no reason for X-ray vision. They were able to go in and use their eyes and see. Therefore, yes, there was one miracle of darkness, but to perform the mitzvah, and that is to empty out Egypt, there was no reason to cause another miracle. So now comes the question to mind, what about the Midrash? Why does the Midrash say that there was a miracle? And the answer is that the Midrash says that this was before the Torah was given. The Torah was not given until Sinai. And therefore, the Jewish people were not officially instructed to do mitzvahs. So even though it was a mitzvah, could be done with a miracle. It's not a problem. Number two, according to the Midrash, this wasn't really a mitzvah. It was more than a mitzvah. It was Kabbalah Schar. It was receiving the reward. You worked here for 400 years as slaves, now you have to get paid. Who's going to pay you? The people are going to pay you. The citizens are going to pay you. So therefore, we are going to collect our money. Either we collect it according to nature, or we're going to collect it via miracle. But the money belongs to us. So there was no reason to do it according to nature. Thirdly, a very interesting point, the mitzvah here of emptying out Egypt, to take every item out of Egypt, the only way this could be performed is through X-ray vision. Because if you go into a house and you're going to start marking down things with your natural eye, obviously you're going to miss certain items. So the Midrash holds for the Jewish people to fulfill this concept, to empty out Egypt, they needed this X-ray vision because surely the Egyptians were hiding items that could not be seen by the naked eye. So this is the two approaches. Rashi says there was one miracle, and the fact that there was light in the houses of the Jewish people is nature, is a separate concept. According to the Midrash, there were two miracles. One miracle was the darkness was thick, and number two, there was a miracle of light in the houses of the Jewish people, which meant wherever they went, they had X-ray vision. How do we apply this concept to our daily life? To understand this, we need to take it a step further and to see what this concept is according to Kabbalah, according to Chassidus, etc., etc. And that is, we know that each one of us came down into the world to refine the world. Every soul traveled thousands of light years from heaven all the way down here to this world to elevate what we call the sparks. When the world was created, there was Shvirat HaKelim, there was the breaking of the vessels. 288 sparks fell down into the world, and at that time, the majority of the sparks were in the land of Egypt. When the Jewish people came out of Egypt, it says in Kabbalah, Olo Eidev Rav, the mixed multitude came out. Rav is Reish Beis, 202. They took out 202 sparks. From the 288, they took out 202 sparks. How did they do this? By going and collecting from the silver and gold and diamonds from the Egyptians. They took out the sparks, the spiritual sparks that were latent in the land of Egypt to bring it back to God, return it to God. Now, in our service to Hashem, there are two general approaches. There is, number one, there is light in your house, and number two, there is darkness. These are two approaches. There is light in your house, represents the study of Torah and the prayers that we do every day. This is light. Torah is light, Torah. When you pray to Hashem, there's a revealed connection between you and God. This is how we bring light into the world. But we also have to enter into the darkness. And that is to elevate the sparks, to go into a world of confusion, to go into a world of chaos. That is the daily routines that we do. Cleaning the house, making food, business, making money. This is now the state of darkness. And there, in that location, we do mitzvahs, physical mitzvahs. But more so, whatever we do, we serve Hashem. From playing sports, to exercising, to eating, to doing business, this is the way we elevate the sparks and return them to God. This is entering into the state of darkness. According to Rashi, it's two separate things. And that is, there's the approach of davening and studying Torah, and then there's the concept also of elevating the sparks, but two different routines. You cannot connect the two. According to the Midrash, it was one big miracle. There was a miracle in the darkness, a miracle in the light. It was one concept. Because the Midrash feels that the purpose of davening and the purpose of study Torah is that we gather strength, inner strength, spiritual strength, that then we can go out into the everyday world and elevate the world. In other words, in order to elevate these sparks, to make sure that we maintain our integrity in the everyday world, we first have to daven and study Torah. We do this in the morning, you daven, and then you study Torah. We now gather new strength, new light, and then we're able to enter into the darkness. So it's not two separate concepts, it's one concept. Take it a step further. Rashi, who's the logician of the Torah, is talking about two different steps. There is darkness and there's light. Darkness represents galut, represents exile, represents the physical world. We are living in a world of darkness, of challenges every single day, confusion, problems, hardships, stress, anxiety. This is the concept of darkness. When we don't see clear, when we have doubt, all of these concepts, disappointment, is the world of darkness. This is galus. And our job is to go into the houses. Our job is to go and find those sparks, find those holy sparks, retrieve them, and bring them back to God. After we do our job, now comes along the reward. The reward is light. Light, the Jewish people had light in their homes. And this, by the way, is not only for Jewish people. In truth, any person who follows the 7 Noahide laws, any person that is good and kind and charitable, they too, when Mashiach will come, they will be elevated to a new place, a new space where there is light. No longer will there be Egypt, etymologically meaning borders and constraints. No longer will there be the plague of darkness, which is hardships and anxiety and sickness. But we're all going to be raised to a new place, a new location, a place of light and glory and peace. So now, what does all of this teach us? All of this tells us the following. When the Jewish people were still in Egypt, before they were redeemed, already there was the plague of darkness. Already they had the ability and the freedom to enter into the homes of the Egyptians, to enter into this space of darkness and danger, and yet they were protected. And in that place, they did the mitzvah of emptying out Egypt. In other words, we have to realize that even now, the last few moments of Golus, the last few moments of exile, when we are in a state of confusion and darkness and chaos, God provides for us everything that we need in a state of miracle to give the Jewish people a place of calm, a place of security, that we are able to perform the mitzvahs in a natural order. And furthermore, there are times that we need miracles in our daily life to see beyond the physical. And even then, God provides us the light to see the end of the tunnel, to see the good in the evil, to see the victory in the darkness. So this is the story of darkness. This is the plague of darkness. It's not something which happened over 3,300 years ago, but the Torah is talking to us today. Every day we have these challenges of darkness. At the same time, we have to know that God protects us, and God gives us light in our homes. Wherever we go, we have X-ray vision, and you have to use that X-ray vision, and you have to open up your eyes, and you will see that there is light, and there is glory, and there is goodness. I want to end with one final story, and that is, there's a shliach, Rabbi Weinberg, the head shliach of Vancouver, and he tells the story. Many years ago, he used to give a class once a week with Balabatim, And sometimes the non-Jewish workers and lawyers also participated. And he would talk about Torah and Kabbalah and mysticism and Rebbe. So one day, after the class, a non-Jewish lawyer approaches him and says, Rabbi Weinberg, I have a question to ask you. You spoke so highly about the Rebbe and his ability to do miracles and bless people. Does he bless non-Jews also? Rabbi Weinberg said, yes, of course. The Rebbe blesses everybody. How could I help you? He says, look, his wife was very sick, and he requested a bracha for his wife. He says, sure, tell me the name of your wife, and being that she's not Jewish, I need her father's name. By a Jew, for a bracha, you do the name and the mother's name for a blessing, and for a non-Jew, you do the name and the father's name. Okay, he's in Vancouver, calls up 770, Rabbi Klein takes the name and gives it into the Rebbe. A few days later, Rabbi Weinberg gets a phone call. Yeah, what happened? The Rebbe wants to know the woman's mother's name. The woman's mother's name? Why? The Rebbe always said the father's name. Look, I don't know. The Rebbe said you should find out the mother's name of this woman. All right. He calls back the lawyer. I don't understand this. But the Rebbe requested your wife's mother's name. Okay. The wife calls the mother, says, Ma, look, I need this procedure. I'm not doing whatever so well. And my rabbi said that there's a great rabbi in New York who blesses people, and he needs, normally he takes the father's name, and now he's asking for the mother's name. For 5 minutes, there's a silence over the phone. He says, how does this man know? He must be a very holy man. He says, what are you talking about now? What are you talking about? He says, during World War II, I was raised in a monastery in France. And I'm Jewish. My parents are Jewish. And my Hebrew name is Chana. I never told you about this because after the war, I was upset, I was scared. I married a non-Jew, and we decided to raise you non-Jewish. But the truth is, I am Jewish and you are Jewish. This is the meaning of X-ray vision. Even today, many years after Egypt, there are people that have X-ray vision. And if you pray to God, and you study Torah, and you believe, then each one of us is given the gift of X-ray vision. To hope and pray that we see the light, we see the goodness, and very soon, to empty out Egypt, to empty out Golas of all the sparks, and to march together, l'kabel pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu, to see the coming of Mashiach, uvnei Yisrael yitzim miyad Rama, b'rechush gadol, to leave with a tremendous wealth, millions and billions of dollars in physical wealth, and millions and billions of dollars in spiritual wealth, of all the Torah and all the mitzvahs that we performed throughout the days of Galus, b'mheira b'meinu, amen. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have any question, please write it in the comments.